Perhaps pricing them in the short term may decrease our consumption, but it is distorting the value of the absolute value of money. Okay, and money itself is only a unit of transaction, is only a unit of, and currency is only a means to buy things. It's a unit of exchange. Okay, because of course before money we bartered, but of course then it brings us to the point of incentives. Profit as has had a major effect. As I said, profit has a major effect. Because we have an incentive to make profit, it's also decreasing the utility of something that someone buys from us, because of course they want the maximum utility. It's a kind of beggar your neighbour strategy, but what can be done about getting rid of profit? Because of course we don't want to end up in a system like communism, you know, where in converse to the ultra conservative way of thinking, where the market dominates everything. The people in charge of the state in communism control everything, because of course you had the Leninist vanguard party, and from that point communism became just as unequal as ultra conservatism, which is of course based on class prejudice and the domination by a small elite on the rest of a very undereducated and greedy population. Both things sort of tend towards each other, towards a basic corruption, because they don't depend on rationality or virtues. As I said before, the Romans, you know, that's something that they really did stress, because they knew the dangers of evil people and of immorality and corruption. So they made a wall of non-connections around the most violent, irrational people, which are usually the emperors. You know, because people are drawn. The least suitable people are often drawn towards power, and have the least suitable methods and at least legitimate methods to gain it. Okay, so they learn not to react in an irrational way to that. They learn to plan and compartmentalise themselves to prevent disaster. This is something that we have not done. We have exposed ourselves to the inherent risks of following, like sheep, people who are completely irrational and greedy, and often are at once intellectually brilliant, but also violent and have problems with connecting with other people. You know, in terms of mental disorders or other things. Most of the elites throughout history have been insane, and the different elites, there's not one elite, there's competing elites, they have been insane, because whilst their ones are like Exxon Halliburton are completely evil and they want to hurt people, other elites have been like the Nazis, like even the Soviet Union, even Western organisations. They've made mistakes, and they've done intentionally harmful things, because they've become, through a belief in altruism, and so they become zealots. They've seen it almost in a religious context, a religious crusade. And of course, even Osama bin Laden could be argued to have been a defensive fighter, and did it for altruistic means to free his people from Western domination, although he himself was part of a crime family that exploited and killed millions of people, even before 9/11. So criminality and politics and different things, they intercede with each other. That's what I'm trying to say. What do we see about the Arab Spring? Because of course this video series is called the Western Spring. It is about re-establishing control over our money supply. That would be the key thing. control over our social welfare systems and education systems, and pensions, and a re-expansion on reinvigoration and remodelling of Western civilization into those things, and both tried and tested, and of course new innovations that have been consistently beneficial to Western civilization. That would be citizenship, and I would even toy with the idea of giving citizenship. Although I believe in a balance between liberty and equality, citizenship is no longer a incentive because it's given to people at birth. The only way to encourage citizenship is to give people a natural ability to own their own land. If you've got a mortgage, you don't own your own land. A mortgage is called a death contract. You know, it's you're funding a bank basically. If people did own their own land, then there will be a real incentive for them to take part in civic service, military service, legal service. So perhaps the idea of a citizenship plus, the idea of giving people 2 votes rather than just one, would encourage those people who have an interest in the political system, or those might be in a minority of people at this point. It would increase over time as the incentive grew stronger and stronger, and that group of people had a better, although at first distorting, ability to change the political system. Locke said something on the same lines, although he said that everyone had the right to own land, and the colonists in America's 13 colonies were given land. They came from indentured service. They sold themselves into a form of slavery and then gained their land and thus gained citizenship. The Romans did a similar thing. You know, slavery wasn't permanent, it wasn't inherited. You couldn't be owned through generation and generation. You know, the Romans gave citizenship so that the next generation would join the legions, join the civil service after that, and have more children, make more Romans, increase the Roman Empire. That's what I'm trying to get at. The Western Empire, the Western civilization is no longer an empire. It is a system of nation states all linked together through treaties and various monetary and economic and fiscal unions. Chiefly the United States-led alliance system, and which includes NAFTA, Canada and Mexico even, and the European Union and its alliance system. That is what the Western world is, and Australia and New Zealand sort of toy between which part they are affiliated to most strongly through trade and strategic ties in terms of their military. But what this drive for citizenship would do is that although it would create inequality at first by giving some people 2 votes and other people 1 vote, it would also remove the threat of minority-led politics. Why would it do this? Because there are racial minorities within Western civilization that vote in terms of their own racial self-interest, while the cosmopolitan Europeans, and mostly Nordic and Celtic and Roman descended populations, Europeans, vote by issues or party affiliation. If we voted by issues, we would get a much more rational idea of where to go, and also referendums would help with this.